Hello and welcome back to the Starting 5 video series. My name's Adam Spencer. You can find me on Twitter at SDS Basketball or at AdamSpencer4. In today's video, we're going to discuss some of the more underrated players in the SEC. We've got the top 5 broken down for you, and we'll start with 5 and make our way to 1. But before we get there, I sent out a call to action on Twitter asking you for your input on who the most underrated player is. We got a bunch of responses, and they were all good. Jacob Varner says Jeremiah Tillman. He's carrying Missouri in SEC play and is one of the better overall players in the league. While teams are moving away from big men, he's still one of the best players in the league based on overall production. Randy at The Spur Nation says Justin Minaya of South Carolina. Without him on the floor, the whole chemistry on offense and defense drops off. Does everything right you don't see in the stat sheet. Tucker Medlin says Abdul Adu from Mississippi State. Doesn't provide much offense, but is an elite defender and the heart and soul of MSU. Davis Crocker says Victor Bailey Jr. of Tennessee. The dude hits shots when his team needs them. Plays good defense and hits threes. Great sixth man off the bench with the veteran presence. Came off the bench and was red hot against Vanderbilt in the second half on Saturday. Quietly a huge addition for Rick Barnes & Co. And we have Jack Watson at TopperFan on Twitter. Tolu Smith, Mississippi State. He has made State a much better team with inside defense and offense. Now we also got some responses like Moses Moody and Herb Jones. Well, they're in the SEC Player of the Year mix, so they're not exactly underrated. They are good guys and great players, but we're gonna stick to some of the guys who are flying under the radar for this video. So with that out of the way, let's get to my top 5. At number 5, we have Victor Bailey Jr. at Tennessee. We've already discussed him a little bit from the tweets. He's averaging 11.6 points per game for the Vols, which is second on the team behind John Fulkerson, and this is a team that really needs offense on a nightly basis. The Vols have been really hit or miss offensively, but Bailey's been pretty consistent. He can hit threes, and like the tweet said, he comes up big in big moments, and that's something you can't teach. With a freshman-laden team, you know, they have Jaden Springer, they have Keon Johnson. Bailey provides that older leadership, and he's not afraid of the moment. He's going to be a big factor for them, especially offensively moving forward. At number 4, I have Jeremiah Tillman, the big man out of Mizzou, another guy who was mentioned in the responses to my tweet. He's only averaging 12 points and 8 rebounds, but he's been a really important factor for Mizzou. And the only reason he's not higher on this list is because he's starting to get some of the attention that he deserves, so he's becoming properly rated instead of underrated. Before the season, I thought Xavier Pinson might be the guy that sort of took over as the star for the Tigers, but Tillman has carried that banner this year and he's continued to improve. This is what Mizzou fans saw in him for 4 years, and now he's finally delivering on his potential in a more consistent way. At number 3, we have Tolu Smith out of Mississippi State. He burst onto the scene with a 27-point, 14-rebound, 3-block effort in a win over Florida, but he's been quietly playing really well all year long. He's averaging 13.5 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. Now he gets overshadowed a little bit because DJ Stewart Jr. and Iverson Molinar, they're a dynamic backcourt tandem and they score a lot of points. But Tolu Smith is the third wheel there, and I mean that in a good way. He's the guy who can help them when they need it. When one of those guys is struggling, if Smith steps up, this is a Mississippi State team that's going to continue to win games and be one of the bigger surprises in the SEC. At number 2, we're going with Darius Days out of LSU. Now he's gotten overshadowed this year by the freshman sensation Cam Thomas. He gets overshadowed by Javonte Smart, Trendon Watford. There's a lot of talent on that LSU roster that it's no surprise that Days gets lost in the mix every now and then, but he's every bit as good as those guys, and he plays a key role for Will Wade's squad. He's averaging 12.9 points, 8.2 rebounds, 1.4 steals, and he's shooting almost 40% from beyond the arc. And those threes are what make him so lethal. When he's left alone in the corner because defenses have to try to cover Cam Thomas, who can drive the lane and get to the free throw line better than anyone in the league, or they have to deal with Trendon Watford having the ball at the top of the key where he's really comfortable, or if they have to deal with Javonte Smart driving the lane, Days sometimes gets lost in the mix. And when he steps out and finds his spot behind the three-point arc, game over. Like, he can hit those threes, and he's been a key part of this LSU offense, especially when other guys aren't necessarily having their best nights. And finally, we come to the number 1 spot, and we're heading to College Station, where I have Emmanuel Miller out of Texas A&M as my number 1 most underrated player in the SEC. I know the Aggie fans know all about him, but outside of College Station, he seems to be a relative unknown. I don't hear much chatter about him, especially on a national scene, but he deserves every bit of praise that comes his way. So far this year, he's averaging 15.9 points a game, 7.9 rebounds a game, and 1.4 assists per game. He plays forward, but he's a little bit undersized for that, so those rebounding numbers are really nice to see out of him. And for an A&M team that really struggles to score, I mean, they really struggle to get to 60 points points in SEC play on a nightly basis. Averaging 15.9 points is no easy task. Defenses are starting to key on him a lot, and he's going to need some help if the Aggies are going to continue to be a tough team to beat in SEC play. But for now, he's taken a huge step forward this year, and he absolutely deserves to be in the conversation for all SEC first team. So to recap again, Victor Bailey Jr., number 5, Jeremiah Tillman, number 4, Tolu Smith, number 3, Darius Days, number 2, and the most underrated player, Emmanuel Miller, Texas A&M.